Hello and welcome, Sandra. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, Sai. How are you?
I'm well, thank you so much. It's great to be with you. And I'd like to welcome those that are listening to us very openly. We're looking forward to this conversation. And we've got a great event coming up in May around rethinking women's leadership in business, which should be a wonderful collection of speakers and conversations. This is, of course, in collaboration with the Women Business Collaborative, as well as Andy Simon and of course, Catalyzing the Future. And today we have the great opportunity to be with Sandra. So it's so good to be with you.
Thank you, Sai. It's great to be here with you as well.
Thank you. I would love for you to introduce yourself and just tell us who you are, my good friend, and the world can hear your voice.
Well, I am Sandra Hurd. I am an author, coach, motivational, inspirational speaker. I'm also an educator. I'm a career internal auditor, and I'm also an entrepreneur. So I wear many hats. So I'm very familiar with business, and of course, being a minority and a female in business, I'm very knowledgeable, if you will, on this subject matter.
Beautiful. And I think one of the major things, very, very openly, is you are just a humane, decent human beings. Wrap all that up, if you will, to all the good things you mentioned. So tremendous to be with you all around.
Thank you so much, Sai. And just this topic, when you reached out to me, I was definitely honored and just was like, what do I need to say about this in terms of rethinking, women leadership in business is so huge when you think about it. And women are breaking barriers today, especially those that are entrepreneurs. But as it relates to just the workforce in general, I like to bring it from two different perspectives, if you will. I think we need to start at the root cause. And what do I mean by that, side? I mean, when you're looking to have diversity and inclusion in your workforce, it really does start at the root cause, which is childhood, that middle grade, that high school, and then even on to college. And why do I say that? Because even as adults, if we never get the coaching and training or get the type of parenting that we desire, every household is not created equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially depending on our culture, our background. Each of us are reared differently, if you will. And with that, sometimes you have a two-parent household, sometimes you may not, for whatever reasons. And so if you don't have that parent that is cultivating your gifts or see what you're good at and then helping you to determine or decide or lead you in a certain pathway, then a lot of times you find yourself saying, what do I want to do when I grow up? I can speak from personal experience that for me, I was one of those individuals. I knew I wanted to do something in business side, but I didn't know exactly what, because I really didn't have that growing up. But having my child young as a teenager, I did not want to be another statistic. So I fought. I fought to get an education. So I enrolled in college directly after high school. And even then, I was an honor student, but I don't feel like public schools prepared me, if you will, for the next level, even at college. And when I started getting markings on my papers, and I'm going, wait a minute, I got straight A's in high school. Here I am now getting markups on my paper. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. The root, we start from the root, as from having a coaching, mentoring, and training program, right?
Excellent.
That coaching, mentoring, and training program, I think will be very effective in rethinking how we do business today, right? So if we take our leaders, our top influencers in the organization, I'm not talking people who manage well, I'm talking people who impact, empower, and transform the lives of those that they come in contact with. Would you agree with that, Si?
Most definitely. And I love the distinctions you're calling out, because definitively there's a difference between management and leadership. And you've emphasized very key qualities. And if we really help galvanize those folks so that they can cultivate other people's gifts, especially throughout, respectfully, we've all been children through our journeys, it can be a very, very tremendous impact in the workplace.
Yes. So if we don't start at the root cause, then what we end up doing when an adult get to the workplace is putting band-aids. We're dealing with symptoms. And here's another caveat. Even at an HR level, right? When they are the ones, the recruiters who are actually interviewing the people that we bring on board, right? And
Hmm.
we're looking for certain skill sets. We're looking for people who are critical thinkers. We're thinking about people who are go-getters. We're thinking about people who even have an entrepreneurial mindset, because those are our innovators who will come
Yep.
into the workforce. But if we don't train even that recruiter to begin to see beyond what's in front of them, right? Here's the caveat or the issue with that. We never get to know a person at a personal level, and we know that there's gray lines, even with that, right? From a liability standpoint. But wouldn't it be crucial if we have a diversity training program, again, a mentor and coaching program, where we take those leaders who can lead by example, who can empower, who are accountable, right? And also aspire, who can effectively develop those that come into their under their leadership. They're responsible, resourceful, they're willing to share their knowledge and their success. They give hands-on initially until a person can fly, and then that creates the impact. Then we partner with those individuals, we plan, and then we have processes in place. So those particular people that we train and develop, we send them out to the middle schools, we send them to the high schools we want to partner with, and then to those colleges that we decide to recruit.
Yeah.
That way, we started at the root cause, because then you can get to know those individuals at a personal level and begin to understand where they rooted from, where do they come from, how do they think.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, the way we grow up has a lot to do with the way we think. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Most definitely. I really appreciate how you're describing it, because it's not simply let's send people out and do talking, but we got to get our hands respectfully dirty, and dirty in the sense that we need to care about each other to help cultivate one another through those journeys. And we need more doing, talk, in addition to the talking that allows us to truly manifest that impact. That's tremendous. I do have a question for you, Sandra, kind of
Okay, go ahead.
leaping from that. You know, as you kind of look at, if you will, and setting the stage for us, respectfully, what can us males do to contribute to advance this? We all have to contribute, but specifically in this case, what is an ask, if you will, that comes to your mind, very specifically to males?
So, if I can put it bluntly, we look at today's culture or business or corporate America, it's really what they say, a good old boy network, right?
Hmm.
So men typically are at the ram of the leadership. They are your executives. You only see a handful, if that, of women. And then you really don't see women a minority. And if you do, it's usually one, no more than two, right?
Yep.
And so what a man can do to me to help impact that, it starts with him having the voice of influence, and that voice of influence that people look up to, that people respect, because you are leading by example. And if you are leading by example, meaning you're not just talking the talk, but you're walking the walk, you're doing exactly what you say you do. When people feel like they can approach you no matter what level you're on. I'll give you a prime example. When I worked in healthcare, I worked in an organization where the CEO, we used to do these town hall meetings, and the town hall meetings would not include management. It would include like supervisors, senior, not even senior level, but what I mean is, like, I'm a senior auditor. Like, so it would include someone at my level, a supervisory level, and then on down. He would be the one, the face, to dispel any rumors, because information and disseminating information throughout the organization is key, right? That dispels all the rumors that come through and things of that nature. He was approachable. He was down to earth. The CEO of an organization, very approachable. And what I liked is he was the one primarily there coming to tell you about the financials of the organization, telling you the structural changes that were coming down, and any dispelling any rumors that employees had, so that they could come directly to the source, not the middle person, not the person underneath them, but coming to the source. So to me, a male's leadership is so impactful, because he can then not only disseminate from the top down, he empowers his employees to have a voice, to be able to share not only their concerns, but what can we do to make things different. Does that help?
Most definitely. And I really appreciate again how you're describing it, because if we look at the notion of partnership, it really is about living our values and principles, very much so. And then additionally, to your point, confronting the challenges that come up along the way, because nobody said it's going to be easy. And we have to have the courage to confront those challenges, but really both in our professional lives and our personal lives all around.
Absolutely. And even to add to your question in terms of how can males impact, for example, I was hired, I want to say in the early 2000s, to start an audit shop from scratch. And I was super excited. Why? Because one, I was the only minority in the organization. It was primarily men at the top, and I reported to the board
Hmm.
of directors, and I reported to the audit chair, who was also male. I reported to the CFO first, and then to the CEO when that CFO left. But the CFO who hired me, every time I would go to him and I tell him what I was thinking, he would say, Sandra, it's your baby, it's your baby, it's your baby. So he gave me not only the authority, he gave me the responsibility, which gave me the confidence to know that he trusted, that he hired me to start it, not only start it from scratch, but do what I needed to do to help grow it. So he didn't give me any flack. And I thought that that was great that he would come to me. And then he later, it was someone who I knew who was also interviewing for the job, but he didn't know I was interviewing, or I didn't know he was interviewing. So they tried to keep us separate. And
Yeah.
they told me the reason why they hired me over the individual that I knew, and it was a male. They hired me because they said that they felt like I wouldn't have any pushback, that I would not just fall for anything, that I would stand my ground if necessary
Yeah. Yeah.
to confront anything that would bring a financial harm, if you will, to the organization. And that right there spoke volumes to me. I was truly
Yeah.
humbled and honored by him saying that.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And if you don't mind, I want to kind of turn the question slightly, same kind of question, but slightly different. What wisdom and what would your ask be for, if you will, the women that we have in the world? Just like you have guidance for the men, I would love to hear sort of, what wisdom and guidance do you expect women to do to really contribute in making this even more real?
Well, I would say to the woman who has a leadership role but not sure of herself, and I will speak to two different women here because I've had both as a manager and a leader over me. I've had those that were very confident in who they were, and then they began to say, Sandra, this is what you need to do to get to the next level. To
Hmm.
me, that's the effective leader who is as sure of who she is, but recognize her role, her responsibility, the influence that she can have to make change, to bring about positive change, recognize the strengths in that particular employee that is underneath them, and then take them by their wings, if you will, and say, here, this is what I'm going to do for you to help you get to the next level. One, I didn't have that. And because I didn't have it, I told myself if I would ever get into this leadership role, that I would go back and reach the next person, each one teach one, because I didn't get to this level as an island all by myself. I think it's important to not hoard it, if you will, or walk with a level of intimidation when someone comes into your path who may have more skill sets than you have, who may have even more knowledge than you have, to collaborate with that person and leverage your strengths versus their strengths, and not put them in a corner because you may feel intimidated or afraid that they are there to take your position. I've seen it too many times. And that's why I started this conversation saying there's a difference between a manager side and a leader. A leader knows who they are. A leader knows the influence both from a professional perspective as well as a personal perspective. Why? Because our title don't really define who we are. It really doesn't at the scheme of things. I'm a woman of faith. And so I know that my title is just where I'm positioned to help the next person get to the next level. Because to me, it goes back to the mentoring, coaching, and training. If you're an effective mentor, coacher, and trainer, you're going to take that individual and you're going to transform the way they think, which transform the motivation, and then cultivate them to the next level. But that woman who is insecure, who's in that leadership role, and she might be fearful of her job, you don't know what could be going on in her personal life, that she's carrying it to the job. And that's why I said earlier, it goes back to the root. Otherwise, you'll be putting band-aids over the wounds. And so for that woman who's in that role, who's insecure, I would tell her, go get help. Don't be intimidated by who's underneath you, but then take what you know, share your knowledge, and then together, the two of you will be more impactful.
Excellent. Excellent. And the way that you've expressed it is extremely powerful, because uplift others, uplift others, pay it forward, if you will.
That's it.
And yeah. And if you truly are experiencing some confidence challenges, work them through, because we continuously work on ourselves as well as how we manifest in the world. So very, very powerful, Sandra, my good friend. How about other thoughts? Anything else you'd like to share with the broad world, if you will,
I
relative to this
do.
topic?
I do. As an educator, Sai, I have the opportunity to influence and impact those who come in my path, who are getting their education and getting ready to transition to the workforce, if you will. I teach business courses, and I also teach, and when I say that, I mean undergraduate. I teach undergraduate business, and I also teach undergraduate accounting courses, right?
Mhm.
And I tell my students, whether they're business majors or not, because there are certain classes they still have to take, whether they are a business major or not, they still have to take the course, if you will. And especially as an elective, every time I always ask my students to introduce themselves, tell me a little bit about themselves, what their major is, and what are they looking to do, right? And then for those who give me that their major is just broad, I always encourage them to concentrate, right? And why do I tell them to concentrate? Because you want to develop a skill set, a niche, if you will, because the market, as we both know, can be very crowded, right? So what distinguishes me or you from that next person who will get the job? A lot of times it's not just what we know, it's who we know, and then whether those individuals, what they know about us, that will make or break us sometimes getting into or getting our foot in the door of a business. And so I tell my students to create a niche, if you will, something that you feel like you're passionate about, not just what you're getting your degree in, but do a concentration, because that concentration is going to propel you a little bit further than you just have a business degree or business administration. Okay, so what is business administration? Concentrate, do IT, do accounting, do HR. All those things are concentrations that will help propel you further. And then even when you get exposed into the workforce, you may have concentrated in one area, but then when you get to the workforce, you say, this is a little bit different than what I studied in school. I don't know if I want to stay here, because I've had people who started off in audit with me and they branched out and did other things and they're still successful. And so I want them to know that it's okay that you may change in the middle of something, right? As long as you continue the process, as long as you continue on that path to lead you to greater places. Because at the end of the day, with like me being an educator or on my job, most of my organizations I've worked for, they send the people who transfer in from other areas or come in from college, because why? I'm an effective coach, trainer, and leader. I try to teach or preach, or if you will, lead by example.
Yeah.
And so I like to teach not only from a book perspective, but from a practical perspective. Why? Because book knowledge is very different than hands-on experience in a workplace. And so I try to use examples that they can relate to, so that the concept not only stick. I don't want them to just memorize something. I want them to learn it. so
Yeah.
that when they learn it, they can carry it and use it for the rest of their lives. Because what I teach, especially from an accounting standpoint, if you ever go into entrepreneurship side, you're going to need to understand how to review a balance sheet, how to look at an income statement, how to analyze, your cash flow statement or analysis, if you will. So they need those skill sets. Why? Because to they don't want to encounter someone who's going to take advantage of them not having that skill set or not understanding that. So I mentor some of my students even beyond college. Why? Because I want to help them in that career path, and I want them to know that someone cares. Because at the end of the day, we don't everyone I'm going to be motivated if I know you care. I'm going to
Mhm.
be motivated to do more and go over and beyond if I know that you're going to allow me to have an opportunity, not only soar, but to give my input, because I may see things that you don't see, because we have different diversity, we have different cultures, and we all think a little bit different. But again, that collaboration and working together, there's no telling what we can
Yeah.
do when we work on one accord.
Words of wisdom, my good friend. I really, really appreciate, again, the ability to concentrate and focus, but not lose sight. Don't pigeonhole yourself so much that you lose sight of the other opportunities. And I think this really goes to the breadth of rethinking women's leadership and the depth that it can have. Let's not pigeonhole ourselves to one thing and exclude the opportunities. Very, very critically. And I really, really, really appreciate the emphasis of it starts with care, because if you didn't, very openly, Sandra, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be here. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. And that is a very root aspect to everything we do and contribute. So you've gone full circle, my good friend, all around. You're tremendous. You're
Well, thank
tremendous.
you so much, Sai. I just think this is an important topic to talk about. Women, we see a lot of things happening, especially in the past few years, the Me Too movement, women finding their voice, women beginning to speak out. You beginning to see change. You're beginning to see women rise in their leadership roles and responsibilities. And I just think it's so prevalent that we begin to recognize that there is change going on in our country, in the earth right now, even with this, pandemic. No one saw this coming. But the beautiful thing about it, if we look at it, right, emerging from this chaos
Mm-hmm.
has been many business opportunities, and women especially exploding entrepreneurship, and just taking the world by storm, and some
Yeah.
of the things that we're creating and some of the things that we're doing. And what I really like is those organizations, as we're talking about, of paying it forward, going back and teaching others how to do it, right? And I think that we owe it to those individuals coming behind us, right, to be able to teach, coach, and train them the knowledge that we know. We know that there's an intellectual property. Here's the caveat too: when you become an expert, right,
Yep.
or you develop that niche, and that you become an influencer, then guess what? The sky's the limit for you. You can have your mastermind classes. You can teach on the things that you know, but monetize it, not only to give some knowledge away, but then also to make a living off of the knowledge that you have and know as well.
Tremendous, tremendous. Sandra, I am hoping that yourself and others will definitely join us on May 18th, and many more things to come. But I definitely want to thank you so much for making the time to catch up. And by all means, we look forward to you and others joining on the day of the event.
I will certainly be there to support you, Sai, and thank you so much again for this amazing opportunity. And keep allowing keep allowing just to be used, to bring these conversations forward, because they're definitely necessary.
You're tremendous. Thank you so much, my friend. And we thank all those that will definitely join us, and likewise listening to this particular recording. So
All
thank
right.
you again. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sandra.
Take care.
Thank you. You too.